We are live in downtown Lake Village here on the shores of Lake Chico, where county officials and other emergency management people have just finished a meeting to talk about proactive steps they're taking about the rising Mississippi River.
Plus, we'll have a live update on a flood briefing in Rolling Fork.
From the Delta's #1 station, you're watching ABC6 News.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here on ABC6 News at 5. I'm Tanya Carter. Today is Wednesday, May 4th, 2011. Well, topping our news this afternoon, Governor Haley Barbour holds a press conference to inform residents that live along the Mississippi River about flood preparations. Here's a look at what the governor had to say.
Such an overwhelming event. You realize that the state, the governor, first lady for that matter, have to be pillars upon which people can lean. They have to.
Now you can be able to hear the entire press conference at our website at WABGTV6. Meanwhile, Mississippi authorities say they're confident the main levees along the Mississippi River will withstand high water levels expected in the coming weeks, but they warn Yazoo backwater levees could be overtopped by as much as a foot. Now, more than 1,000 people packed a National Guard armory Wednesday in Rolling Fork for a flood briefing. Peter Nimrod, chief engineer with the Mississippi Levee Board, says people in low areas should secure their property and prepare to leave. Now, levees will be closed as of midnight Saturday to everyone except law enforcement. Sharkey County Supervisor Bill Newsom says government documents and medical records in Issaquena and Sharkey counties are being moved to higher ground. Officials are trying to get a water ambulance. Responders are trying to identify people who may have trouble evacuating. And Issaquena and Sharkey counties actually brought out the Corps of Engineers to today's meeting. ABC6 News reporter Lakia Scott has more, and she joins us live in the studio. Lakia.
Hi, Tanya. It was definitely a packed house today at the National Guard Armory in Rolling Fork. The facility was filled with a crowd anxious to get answers, but officials say there's no need to panic just yet. But the message is more so just be prepared. Now, although panic and alarm has seemed to set in around the Delta, state officials say they're not declaring a definite flood. They were just prepared to provide residents with best and worst case scenarios at today's briefing. Now, those best and worst case scenarios are as follows. Best case, waters near the backwater levee around the Yazoo River will only elevate at 95 feet, flooding hundreds of thousands of acres and yet still devastating to farmland and farmers. Officials say this isn't the type of flood most residents are concerned about because it won't affect their homes. But worst case scenario, if the area reaches levels of 106 and above, now this is when homes could actually go under.
We're expecting that if the backwater does hold, we only get to 95 feet in the backwater area, which will be a devastating event as it is, but it won't be flooding the homes that a 106 event would get to. So what we're notifying the public to is if we have troubles with that backwater levee or we have a duration that's longer on the Mississippi River or the crest goes higher, the conditions will get worse. The worst condition is elevation 106. So there are lots of homes in this area that are built to elevation 102, 103, and they would all get inundated. So we hope the fact that we don't get to that point at all. We're hoping that levee holds, and the armor that the Corps of Engineers is about to put on there will hold.
Now again, the key term here is if there are problems containing the backwater levee, but authorities say there's a good chance they can hold the waters at 95 feet, which is considered a lot of flooding, but not devastating according to officials. In other words, no homes will be lost at a level of 95 feet. All right, now let's take a look at some predictions given by the board in some surrounding areas.
Anticipate this water reaching Greenville. Greenville's area north is fine, even with a breach on that levee. We're just notifying the public, letting them know. It'll be a real slow moving event. The backwater levee won't even start overtopping until about May 15th. So we got plenty of time before that. Even if it was overtopped, even if it breached, it would take days for it to reach areas such as Rolling Fork. So
as we've just heard, in case of a breach, and again, if there is one. Even under those circumstances, there will be plenty of time to relocate. But levee board officials say you need to prepare now, and I stress now, in case of a flood. Reporting live in the studio, Lakia Scott, ABC 6 News.
All right, then thank you so much there, Lakia. We'll check back in with you tonight at 6. Well, some residents along Lake Ferguson are working to save their possessions before it's too late. Those living on the unprotected side of Lake Ferguson are practically working to save their belongings before the floodwaters run into their homes. Now, the crest is not expected until May 17th, but with the water level rising by more than a foot per day, many homes will be inundated well before the crest occurs.
My house is 13 feet off the ground, so I would say it's about 10 feet under my house now, and when the river crests at 64.5 or 65 feet, it will be 4 feet in my house.
Now, residents are also asking boaters to navigate slowly and stay on the opposite side of the lake from their homes in order to reduce damage caused by the wakes. Meanwhile, Churchill Downs Incorporated today announced that its wholly owned subsidiary, Harlow's Casino Resort and Hotel in Greenville, would temporarily close to the public effective Friday, May 6 at 10 p.m. due to concerns over rising water levels and flooding along the Mississippi River. The Board of Mississippi Levee Commissioners has declared a state of emergency due to expected flooding along the Mississippi River Basin and has directed Harlow's and a number of other casinos near the river to close for business until further notice. Now, Harlow's will reopen as soon as authorized to do so by the Mississippi state officials. Now, let's take a look at the Mississippi 2011 flood predictions. Right now in Greenville, the record is at 58.2 feet back in 1973. However, the forecast is 64.5 feet by May 15th. In Vicksburg, the record is 56 feet back in 1927, and the forecast is 57.5 feet by May 18th. And the flood prediction for Natchez is 58 feet back in 1937 and 65 feet by May 20th. Well, over in Arkansas, a press conference is held to provide residents there on the potential of flood concerns. ABC 6 News reporter David Lush is live in Lake Village with the latest. David.
Thank you, Tanya. We're live in downtown Lake Village, where today a very important meeting went on here in the Chico County Courthouse, and I have two people that are involved with that meeting today. And we have Judge Mac Ball, and Judge, you're a county judge here, and you're pretty much like the county administrator here. And you were the gentleman that helped kind of put together this meeting, and you're going to be continuing these kinds of meetings on a daily basis. Tell us a little bit about why you did this and what went on in the meeting today.
Well, I feel as elected officer of the county that it's our job to protect the citizens of the county, and there were a lot of rumors flying around about evacuations and things like that, and we were nowhere near that point. We are just simply operating our emergency plan, and that's what we were elected to do. And as far as the rumors out there, I would guess 95% of them are false. And
because the crest is where we're talking 2 weeks away.
That's correct, and we're not, the sand boil is our main concern. Everything is under control by using our plan, and we're just asking everybody to be in precaution stage and report anything out of the unusual. And I would ask them to please call my office for real information instead of relying on Facebook or something like that.
All right. Now, we have with us also Mayor Joanne Bush, and you indicated in the meeting today that you've already instituted or implemented your emergency plan here in Lake Village. How's that going at this point?
David, first of all, I want to say thank you for coming over so that we can get the word out to the public to say, please don't panic. Just be prepared and be smart, and that's basically what we're doing here in the city. We have our plan in place, and we're just making plans in case we do have to evacuate. As the judge said, we don't feel like there's a threat of that, and we'll just move forward with our plan. We've heard from the Corps of Engineers and the Levee Board District today. They feel comfortable with the situation, and we feel comfortable. As soon as we know something different, the public will know.
All right, well, we'll have you two back here at 6 o'clock. If we could really, real quick, get in the Army Corps of Engineers and these gentlemen here. And we have Larry Rayburn, you're with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers out of Vicksburg. And what were you doing here today?
Well, David, the Corps has been preparing for this event for a couple of weeks now. And what we do is we come out and assist the local levee board with technical advice and in any issues that they may feel they're not able to handle. What we would like to communicate is that the Corps and the levee board are here inspecting the levees daily, hourly even, to make sure that there are no issues with the levee.
And there aren't at this point?
At this point, there are no unexpected things that are happening with the levee.
Good. All right, we also have with us Jay Winters, and Jay, you are with the Arkansas Department of Emergency Management, so you're kind of like the big cheese here, but you're here in a capacity as a support person, right?
Well, actually, that's correct. We're not in charge of anything. We're here to offer support to the cities and the counties. Anytime a disaster or a potential disaster gets past their resources, then the governor authorizes state resources to assist them, and that's our purpose here, is just to let them know we're here and offer the state resources.
All right, were you impressed though with what you heard today?
Yes, sir, I sure was. They are following their plans. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. They're communicating, and you always plan for the worst and hope and pray for the best, and that's what they're doing here, and they're doing an excellent job.
Okay, well, I thank you, Tanya. We're going to have more here at 6 o'clock over here in Lake Village. Back to you.
All right, then thank you so much there, David, for that live update. Well, back here in Mississippi, Vicksburg residents preparing for the great flood of 2011. Scott Simmons has more.
This is an area of Vicksburg near Ford Road. Hard to imagine where I'm standing right now. They say in a short while will actually be covered in floodwater. Here they know when they talk about historic flood levels in a city so historic, they know problems are on the way.
Contact information, a number for you guys?
AmeriCorps volunteers working with the city of Vicksburg. They and police are trying to spread the word to new neighborhoods like Hamilton Heights. The creek behind this goes directly to the river. New areas now facing flood threats because the projected crest for the Mississippi River is expected to be 4 feet higher.
We're going to get pretty wet in the north and the south of Vicksburg.
Vicksburg city officials admit they are more worried now. They are sending out notice that the flooding could reach a level not seen since the early 1900s.
Right now, we're looking at somewhere in excess of 600 potential residents being displaced.
Thousands of jobs with the port could be impacted as the flood walls are being closed in and the waters climb higher. Kayla Coleman says she knows this is real. She and her mom are moving out of their home in the Kings area, even though it is elevated.
That's my grandma's yard over there. She didn't got all her stuff out. I'm glad she didn't already pack.
Information about the flooding that might occur around here.
Back in Harrison Heights, Aaron Bell isn't going anywhere, but he admits he's worried.
I'm wondering if this water's going to come this far.
But emergency planners say this will not be a 2-week event. They say even though the river is expected to crest around the 18th, that does not mean the problems will end the 18th, that it still could take several more weeks before the floodwaters get out of many homes. In Vicksburg, Scott Simmons, 16 WAPT News.
And as you know, the Mississippi River will reach historic levels over the next few weeks. More than 500 people in the Yazoo County area turned out at a meeting Tuesday to talk about the flood plan with the Army Corps of Engineers. At the meeting, Governor Haley's wife, Marcia, urged people to find out what their elevations are so they can judge when or if they need to evacuate. The Yazoo River is supposed to crest on May 18th at 107 feet. The record is 101. And levee access closures in Coahoma, DeSoto, and Tunica counties are now closed due to an unusual high water. Now, as we first reported, closing of all access to the DeSoto Lake lots, High Water Road, will be affected today. Board staff and commissioners are confident in the levee's ability to withstand extreme conditions. In fact, Kelly Greenwood of the Yazoo Mississippi Delta Levee Board Chief Engineer and CEO says, quote, closures of levee access and roads ensure that if emergency action does need to take place, the board will be able to mobilize equipment and take action quickly. Greenwood further states our levees are in top condition and we are confident regarding stability. Authorized vehicles only will be allowed on the levee. County officials have ordered emergency declarations and mandatory evacuations for residents on the riverside of the levees. The board will patrol the levee 24 hours a day. Well, still to come on your news, first at 5, Mississippi Department of Wildlife officials are advising residents not to disturb wildlife seeking refuge from the high floodwaters. But first, as always, we turn things over to ABC6 Chief Meteorologist Christopher Mathis, who has a preview of our forecast. Christopher.
Tanya, we broke a record low this morning in Greenwood and could very well do that again tomorrow morning in Greenwood and Greenville. We'll have the complete forecast next on ABC 6 News at 5 o'clock.
Weather from the #1 news station in the Delta.
Another beautiful day in Greenville. It still doesn't feel like May, though. This is our Alpha Insurance Skycam down at the Hampton Inn. Lots of sunshine and only 70 degrees, and the air is still very dry with the dew point in the lower 40s. I think that's about where temperatures will wind up late tonight and early tomorrow morning. East wind blowing now 7 miles per hour, and the breeze will die down some after sunset. Let's see how cold it got this morning. 45 was the official low in Greenville, 5 degrees above the record low for this date. But Greenwood dropped to 42, and that's the coldest it's ever been in Greenwood on May 4th. We've got more than 60 years of records, and the coldest it had ever been on this date until today was 43 for Greenwood back in 1976. We did not tie or break a record low last night. Came within 1 degree as we dropped to 47 in Greenwood before midnight last night, but the record low for yesterday was 46. Highs today from the top of each hour, 72 at Greenville, 71 degrees in Greenwood. Weather watchers have called in some very pleasant numbers, upper 60s and lower 70s shortly before the newscast. And tomorrow will be just a little bit warmer, but we're still going to be several degrees below average tomorrow afternoon. 71 now at the Greenwood Airport with a north to northeast wind at 8 miles per hour and only 34% relative humidity. Very nice numbers just about all around us. It's 66 in Clarksdale and Oxford, 67 in Tupelo. Vicksburg is 73. They dropped all the way to 40 this morning in Vicksburg to break the record low for this date. Mostly lower 70s in South and Southeast Arkansas. Monroe, Louisiana has 76. 70s all the way back into Texas and Oklahoma. Austin, Texas has 79, and that's the warmest big city we can find across the South. It's a little bit cooler than average pretty much everywhere, and much cooler than average in some places, including Nashville at only 59 degrees. Most of the region is dry today. There are some showers way up in eastern Kentucky and West Virginia. Nothing real heavy there. There has been, though, some trouble today along I-40 between Memphis and Little Rock. That interstate westbound has been closed because of floodwaters, closed at Brinkley, Arkansas. So if you happen to be traveling along I-40 there between Memphis and Little Rock, you're going to be diverted, and they expect the eastbound lanes will have to be closed soon also near Brinkley, Arkansas because of the floodwaters. Here's our forecast for tonight. Mostly clear and chilly. We'll go with 42 as the average low for Greenville and Greenwood, and that would break the record for both cities tomorrow morning if we get that low. North to northeast winds 5 to 10 miles per hour, then diminishing some late. And tomorrow, lots of sunshine, very pleasant with a high of 74. East winds shifting to the south at 6 to 12 miles per hour. So when the wind shifts to the south, it isn't long before things warm up. I wish we could keep it like this all month, Tanya Carter, but that's not the case. It's going to get pretty hot by the end of the 7-day forecast. We'll talk about that at 6 o'clock.
All right then, Chris. Thank you so much, Jay. And I agree. I wish we could keep it like this forever.
At least through May, huh?
Yeah, you're right. After the break, wildlife officials are alerting residents to prepare for abnormally large groups of deer to gather along the levee system and roads throughout the Delta. We'll tell you why straight ahead. But first, here's a look at your river stages.
From the Delta's #1 station, you're watching ABC6 News.
Welcome back. Mississippi Department of Wildlife officials are advising residents not to disturb wildlife seeking refuge from the high flood waters. According to Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries and Parks Deer Program Coordinator Chad Dacus, flooding situations often cause abnormally large groups of deer to gather along the levee system and roads throughout the Delta. He says residents should not go out and look for wildlife on the levees or try to move them. He says they may be forced into the water or return to flooded areas if pressured. Now, if you encounter a wild animal, the best thing to do is to leave it alone. When we return, the latest on how the levee is holding up in Arkansas. Well, in regional news across the river in Crittenden County, all eyes are on the levee. The question, of course, will the levee hold? And according to the levee board there, they've been monitoring and checking it to make sure that it's safe, and that the Rob Rash, who is actually with the St. Francis Levee District of Arkansas, he has been out on the levee system checking it 24 hours a day. They have 5 people at the office manning the phones, and he knows that everything is going to be okay. Besides the levee board being overwhelmed, also the Office of Emergency Management, and they can advise that the levee is not breaking. The levee is not breaking. Everything is in good shape across Crittenden County, and people should feel safe. We'll be right back. We'll see you at 6.